Good evening. Welcome to the Hermiston City Council and Urban Renewal Agency for May 10th, 2021. With the declaration of a quorum, all members present except Ms. Davis, who is excused. Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome this evening. It's good to see you all again. Thanks for those that are attending that don't normally attend. It's good to see some new faces as well. Ms. Smith, we have a couple changes on the agenda.
The one I know the school district asked to be delayed.
So they want to go to the end.
Correct.
Okay, so we're going to put them off till Dr. Mooney. Is Dr. Mooney going to be here?
That's what we understand,
Okay.
yes.
We'll put that one off on our agenda until later when she arrives. First up on our agenda, we have a recognition in partnership with Anderson Perry and the city of Hermiston. They have put together the Hermiston STEM Scholarship. I'd like to invite Joshua Lott up to the microphone and kind of introduce this scholarship and the winning recipient. I would just like to remind everybody too, we do have a new video audio system, new camera, but it only records when you speak into the microphone. So audience members, staff, counselors, remember to speak into the microphone, otherwise you won't be heard on the video recording. So, welcome, Joshua.
Maybe I'll make the microphone off.
Yeah. Is it on? You got to push the button.
There's a little green light on.
Okay. Perfect. You do kind of have to get a little close to it.
Alrighty. Was the recipient of a similar scholarship there, and kind of back in the local area, a lot of people tend to move on to markets where maybe engineering might be a little bit more lucrative for them. But I chose to stick around, and so I really believe in having a community that promotes STEM careers and in the technical aspects. It's a huge benefit. And I think that engineers and the technical fields in general provide massive services to their cities, their communities, their towns, and I think they have a large way to then give back to the community themselves when they get into the position to be able to do that. So this year, one of the handful of recipients of jurisdictions that we selected to award a scholarship to was Hermiston. And it's a $1,000 scholarship given to someone that is planning to get a degree or have a career in or is related in some way to the STEM field. So the recipient tonight is Mr. Ben Vanderstilt, if he would come forward. Ben from Maya. I've never met Ben until tonight, so forgive me if I say anything wrong, but this young man seems like a pretty amazing guy. He's maintained a 4.0 scholarship through his, through his tenure at school, even staring at a screen, I understand, for hours at a day because of COVID, which I can't imagine how that would be. That would have to be difficult. He plans to attend, I forget the name again, it's the university over in Portland. What is it? George Fox University over by Portland, and to pursue a degree in civil engineering, and he has further plans to get a master's degree on top of that. So he's a very ambitious young man, and we believe him very well worthy of receiving this scholarship. So without further ado, Anderson Perry and Associates, in cooperation with the city of Hermiston, awards the Scholastic Achievement of Scholarship to Ben Vanderstelt. Thank you very much.
Ben, do you want to say anything?
Not really.
Smart man.
Not many 17 and 18-year-olds choose to take me up on that. So congratulations, best of luck. George Fox University is a great university, and I wish you the best. Remember Hermiston afterwards, and we'd love to see you come back to our region and our area and share your educational achievements with us. Thank you. So we also have a special proclamation this evening, and thank you, Joshua and Anderson Perry, for that sponsorship. We appreciate you guys. Yep. So this evening, it's my pleasure to announce National Police Week, and we got a proclamation. I'm going to read through that. It's May 9th through 15th, 2021. To recognize National Police Week 2021 and to honor those currently serving, those retired from service, and the service and sacrifice of law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty while protecting our communities and safeguarding our democracy. Whereas there are approximately 850,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the 28 sworn and 7 non-sworn members of the Hermiston Police Department. Whereas the average 50,000 assaults against law enforcement officers are reported each year, resulting in approximately 15,000 injury. Whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, just under 23,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and have been killed in the line of duty, including one member of the Hermiston Police Department, Ronald G. Kilby, end of watch, Thursday, October 8, 1959. Whereas the names of these dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., whereas 264 new names of fallen heroes from 2020, a 106% increase from 2019, will be added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial. Now therefore, be it resolved, the City of Hermiston formally designates May 9th through 15th, 2021 as National Police Week and publicly salutes the services of law enforcement officers in our community and all communities across the nation. Signed this 10th day of May 2021 by myself, Mayor Dave Drotzman. So Chief, please pass along our special recognition and support of the officers that go about putting their lives on the line every day to make sure that we have a safe environment to raise our families and grow our businesses in. And we appreciate them and their efforts to make Hermiston a more livable space and a safer place to be in. So thank you. Please pass that along. Did you have anything you would like to say about the police force? No. Thank you. Any other comments from the council? We appreciate our police officers and all the hard work that they do, and it's my privilege and honor to sign this national proclamation. All right, so we are going to move on to the first item in our agenda for citizen input. If there are citizens here this evening that would like to talk to the council about items that are not currently on our agenda, you will have an opportunity for agenda items later, but if there are things that you would like to talk to the council about that aren't on the agenda, please come up to the microphone up front, introduce yourself by name and address, direct your comments to me, and limit your discussion to not more than 5 minutes. Come on up. Welcome.
I contacted the police department earlier today about a concern I have, and they referred me to the council, so here I am. I'm aware that the city has an agreement with the company that operates these motorized scooters in the city. I think it's a great idea. I think they're well used. My concern is that they are set up where they are blocking our sidewalks and are interfering with traffic with people in wheelchairs, walkers, and blind people who, of course, use canes. And so that is my concern that maybe that this city ordinance would be enforced. That's my only concern tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
I sent a interesting article today that I saw published about the alternative uses or alternative modes of transportation, and electric scooters and cycles happen to be a part of that. They're fairly new technology. They're absolutely new to Hermiston, less than 6 months of use here, and we're still discovering our way and trying to figure out how they're going to be utilized within our community. We also have some safety concerns and all those sort of things. I think recently there was a car collision with a scooter in Portland that resulted in a fatality. So we do have to make sure that they're used appropriately and they're safe. Currently, they are parked on sidewalks, but they are supposed to be used and driven on the street. And so we're looking at, how our community implements those. Do you have any further comments or thoughts on that, Mr. Smith?
No, I mean, we can pass our these comments on to the provider and ask them to see what they can do to address that. And we'll just continue to watch and monitor the activity. There's we hear positive and negative comments about that, that being available in our community. So we'll just continue to watch that. We definitely don't want to limit people's ability to use the sidewalks, and so we can pass that on and see if there's something it can do to help us address that.
It's kind of challenging because you do have a partnership that requires some personal accountability on the user, and the user may park it in a spot that isn't designated or use the item like it's supposed to be utilized as well. And so we do have some challenges as we work through this first initial introduction of the bird scooters within Hermiston. I think they've been pretty well received. I get a lot of positive feedback from the community about them, but as Mr. Foe had identified, we do need to make sure that our sidewalks are accessible and they're not blocking them. So we'll continue to monitor that. I think would be a good idea. Any other public comment this evening? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to our consent agenda items. We have consent agenda items A through E. Are any of those needing to be pulled by the council? Seeing none, is there any public comment about consent agenda items A through E? Seeing none as well, can I get a motion to approve consent agenda items A through E?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Primer, seconded by Councilor Harden, I believe, right? That we approve consent agenda items A through E. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. We have some recommendations on there for committee members, so nice to see some people in the public signing up to participate in our committee structure. Appreciate them and their time for service. No items removed from consent agenda items. So it brings us up to supplemental budget supplemental budget number 2 for fiscal year 2020. Resolution number 2179 will be below, but this is a public hearing for that. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest from the council about the supplemental budget? Seeing none, hearing guidelines will now be presented by, is that Mr. Smith? Yes.
The City Council is holding a public hearing regarding supplemental budget number 2 for fiscal year 2021. The City Council will take public testimony on this issue and make a decision at this meeting. The hearing process will begin with a staff report by Byron Smith, City Manager. Following presentation of the staff report, the City Council will take public testimony. Testimony will be received from supporters, opponents, and those neutral on the proposed supplemental budget. The Council requests that all people wishing to testify approach the microphone and give their name and mailing address before testifying. People wishing to testify should limit testimony to not more than 5 minutes unless a longer period is provided by the City Council. Written testimony will be accepted from all parties. After everyone wishing to testify has had an opportunity to speak, the City Council will close the public hearing and enter deliberations. Once the public hearing is closed, no further testimony will be received. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We're going to open the hearing. City staff will now present the report.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I wanted to just highlight probably more of the larger changes in the budget, just to give a little more detail. If you have questions about some of the others, I'd be happy to address those. But starting out in the general fund, when we did the original, actually supplemental number 1, we did not have exactly the plan and the approach we were going to take on paying for the bonds for City Hall construction, and so a large change is a transfer of approximately $317,000 from the enterprise zone fund to the general fund, which will then pay principal and interest on that loan. And then a couple of a little bit smaller amounts on that in the general fund, but still significant, I would say, is first, we've been short an electrical inspector and he also did a lot of residential inspections, all different types, for a number of months, and we were able to actually secure his services to help us for a little while, even after he had retired, but now is moving from the area, and so we have entered into a couple of contracts that we know are going to cost us more than what we had budgeted for contractual services in the building department. So an extra $34,500 to contract with the state of Oregon and with the city of Pendleton to get the type of inspections that we need done. Because right now we have one inspector, which is our building official. So he does a number of other things as well. So that's one larger amount. Then also the Carnegie building where the building department is housed, the roof has been compromised and starting to damage the kind of the interior beams of the roof, so we need to get the roof redone. And really, even though it seems like it's a short time between now and the new budget, we just felt like we needed to be able to move as quickly as we could get a contractor on board. So we're asking for a $30,000 change to the budget in that respect. Then there were a couple of different IT, information technology related contracts that we had not anticipated. One, a couple of, about a month and a half ago, I announced that we had a compromise of our email servers due to a problem with the Microsoft software that we use, and so we had to replace or rebuild that server, the email server, and we had not anticipated that. It's approximately $10,000 that's in there for that, as well as some additional software or time implementing our new budget software that we are using this year. And then one of your favorites, those phishing emails that you see come through. We've renewed our contract. We weren't sure if we were going to go forward with that until we've seen the results, and we still need to keep practicing on that. So those are the major line items, except for one other. There is so our local improvement district that's going to assist in funding the South Hermiston Industrial Park improvements. We need to seed some money in that. We are going to receive an EDA grant. We're also going to receive funding from the local property owners, but all of that comes as a reimbursement. And so we're transferring about $585,000 from the general fund into that local improvement district fund that we will then, we will be budgeting to transfer that back in the fall after the project is completed, and we have secured the reimbursements from the EDA as well as began the local improvement district process, which includes potentially some sort of a financing of the property owner's contribution to that project. So we're asking to do that now because we anticipate starting that project before the end of the fiscal year, so we need funds to begin and to pay the contractor. Any questions on the general fund?
Council? Yes, Mr. Brown?
I had a question on the local improvement district and that transfer. Is this the ordinary process that goes through, or that had to wait, or is there a reason why it's here, or is this usually where we see it?
Well, this is the first one this is the first local improvement district we've done in, I don't know, 15 or 20 years. So we've kind of created our own process, and just based on the timing of everything, this was kind of when we needed to do it.
Okay.
Hopefully, typically we'd like to try to take care of it in the original budget, but we just didn't know when the timing of it was going to happen at that point.
I think that was more or less my question. Thank you.
I think we proved that after the budget process and the fiscal year had started, right? So
Correct.
it wasn't even approved by the council till last fall.
Right, and it wasn't even really, we weren't even sure we were getting the grant money until
Right.
later as well. So.
Yeah, so. Yep, Ms. Myers?
Specific to just the South Industrial Park?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
it's related to the grant, and so it's all limited to that
Okay.
area.
Okay, others? Okay. Yeah.
And Mayor, I just had a quick question with the IGA with the city of Pendleton for the building inspector. So that would be a shared building inspector between Pendleton and Hermiston?
Well, basically, it's paying them for the use of an existing building inspector that they have that has certifications that we don't have available right now.
Will they be working like half-time over here? Or
Just on
when
an
they're on call?
as-needed basis. What we've tried to do, and we do this with the city of Umatilla, we provide service to them at different times. We'll just try to schedule, a half a day, or whatever, get a number of inspections together, and then they'll come over and take care of them. And we've done the same for them in the past when they've been short a plumbing inspector. I know Mr. Woolsey's been over there to also do that. And so it's kind of a little bit like a, what do we call that with law enforcement? Yeah. So we just kind of share services, but we needed some increased funds because we didn't anticipate having to do that.
So we're paying them for the individual time, right?
Right, just for a time. It's
not
not
a salary.
It's not a part of their
Each time
salary.
they come over, they bill us, and then we reimburse them. Okay.
Correct.
Other questions?
Okay, so the next one is in the '08 fund, which is the reserve fund, and that is when we started this budget, we did not know the timing or the extent of projects in the downtown related to City Hall. When we got that going, our utility departments took a look at it and wanted to take the opportunity when the alleys were already under construction to replace some aging sewer lines and water lines. And so we're basically reallocating this $490,000 from other projects to the downtown alley utility line replacement. And then we also, I know this, not all the council was here, but we at one point explored the opportunity or the idea of establishing a natural gas utility because we were struggling with the incumbent provider to meet the needs of some potential large customers that we were trying to bring to basically the South Hermiston Industrial Park area. So we went through, there was some funds dedicated to that. We spent some of those to go through a legal process which established our ability to do that if we wanted to. But as we looked into it and kind of explored the idea further, it really didn't make, it wouldn't have made financial sense for us to do it. It was a high cost to build the lines that would be needed, and some of the large customers that we were bringing really wouldn't end up customers of ours because those types of users of natural gas tap into the direct source of natural gas. There's major pipelines that come right through Hermiston, and so those are some of the factors that had us go a different direction. So this budget is asking to reallocate a portion of those funds back to the general fund. And we've left about 80,000 in there that we intend to utilize as we explore the idea of broadband that we've talked about as a council and staff. And so this is to bring back 128 and some change back to the general fund. And then we've been working on Riverfront Park repairs and improvements, and this is just to formally budget for that. We've been being reimbursed by FEMA for those costs, and so this is to formalize the amounts that are there. Then the next fund is Fund 11. That's what we call miscellaneous special revenue. So we've been working on collecting some past due tickets and fines. And although we have in the past, or in the recent past, removed the extra charges for the police department that we had in place before, and we can go into that and talk about that's a different thing we'll bring back to discuss further, but those have been removed. But those old tickets still had those surcharges on them. And so we hadn't budgeted to move any of that money to where it was supposed to go, but this $3,000 is to move that into the Law Enforcement Special Revenue Fund, because that was what it was originally tagged on the ticket for, and it was an older ticket that had been in place for quite a while. But we were able to collect those fines. Then Fund 13, Hermiston Energy Services, we received $80,000 from Amazon to assist with helping those who are struggling paying their electric bill. And so this is just an addition of $80,000 coming in and $80,000 going out to what we call our heat assistance fund that we actually use UEC to administer those funds. And those are really, the other funds that are affected are the other end of the general fund transfers, things like the Local Improvement District Fund and the Enterprise Zone Fund. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Councilors, any questions? Okay, so now we're at the opportunity for public testimony. People wishing to speak are asked to come up to the microphone up front, introduce yourself by name and address, limit your testimony to me, and we'll start with the proponents. Anybody here that would like to speak in favor of the supplemental budget? Seeing none, are there any neutral parties who wish to speak? Any opponents, remonstrances who wish to speak? Okay, we are now going to close the hearing. Any further council discussion? Councilors, do you have any other questions, further discussion? No? Seeing none, I would take a motion to approve the staff report. It's been moved by Maria, I believe, yes? And seconded by Councilor Spicer-Kuhn, that we approve the staff report of the supplemental budget number 2, fiscal year 2021. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. All right, now we're going to move on to Resolution 2179 to supplement the Resolution number 2179 to supplement the fiscal year 2021 budget. Mr. Smith.
Yes, so that was the explanation I walked through earlier. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any further questions? So this is going to be the council's action to approve the supplemental budget.
Correct.
Questions? No? Okay. Any public comment on the resolution? Seeing none, can I get a motion to adopt Resolution 2179 and lay it
So
on?
move.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Harden, second by Councilor Primer, that we approve resolution number 2179 laid upon the record. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Motion passes unanimously 7-0. West End Community Development Group, IGA. Mr. Smith?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as we, one of the goals that came out of our goal setting was to foster community partnerships to address local and regional issues. And one of the things that, right after the elections, newly elected County Commissioner Dan Doran approached all of the cities on this end of the county and asked if we thought it would be a good idea to get together and start to work together, not only on potentially financing, opportunities, grants, and different things that we could secure together, but also just even policy issues that might be important to the west end of Umatilla County that might not be as important to other parts of the county or other parts of the state. So what we're bringing to you tonight is an intergovernmental agreement for government affairs that would basically piggyback on an existing agreement that the city of Hermiston has with PacWest Communications. A big chunk of our contract is for public relations assistance, but a part of that is also related to government affairs. And so our portion, our payment would not increase to enter into this agreement. It would just, there would be additional funds come from the other communities and from Umatilla County to kind of increase that assistance on government affairs. So not only working with the legislature, but working with agencies, if there's, rulemakings, different things. I've found PacWest to be very helpful in working on those types of issues as well. So what we're asking tonight would not cost the city any additional funds, but asking to authorize my signature on this IGA. The other cities have, the city of Stanfield and the city of Echo have both already approved the IGA. The city of Umatilla had like a workshop discussion of it, and we'll have it on their next council agenda for approval. And then the county would also be putting that on their agenda. I haven't heard a timeline on that exactly yet. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Smith, I know it specifically identifies Ryan Tribbett as the member. Is he going to be the lobbyist representative, or we still work with?
No, that's a technicality out of the, he actually is in process of purchasing the firm from the former owners.
Okay.
And so he's transferring that into all of the contracts into his name and to his LLC that he's established. But Phil Schurz will be our main contact along with Daniel.
Okay.
So.
Great. Any other questions from the council?
If I may, Mayor, how exactly would this work as, in reality, I guess? I reviewed the agreement. I see the monetary contributions. Would each city be sending a representative to the group, and there would be a vote, or would it just be each city would approach the lobbyist with the ideas or what they want to move forward with?
Yeah, so our initial game plan, I think it would be to have roughly monthly actual meetings where we talk about things. I know that PacWest would be providing us with weekly reports during the legislative session of bills, things that we might say we're interested in following. And then, each city's would have a representative to talk, discuss items, and then, we haven't really established kind of like bylaws or whatever, how we would function, but that we would do that once we're kind of in a more official. We've met informally for the last couple of months, but I think as far as decision, it would all be shooting towards a consensus model rather than a kind of a voting of who gets the most votes type of a thing. But we haven't established those kind of working ground rules at this point.
everyone be an equal shareholder in this?
Well, I mean, like I said, it's more of a consensus model, but I mean, as you can see, the financial contributions would not be equal. And so if it ever got to that point, I don't, I mean, that's not the kind of atmosphere we're trying to put together, but I guess if it came down to it, the county and the city of Hermiston would have the greater votes just because of the financial, but I don't want to see it go that direction.
So this is a way for the West End communities to partner on lobbying activities that may impact us regionally, and we can speak louder as a voice rather than independently, and the costs are being shared at a much more affordable rate than we could each go out and hire somebody individually to represent us on.
Correct.
So what is our relationship with PAC West moving forward as a city? Would it be different than what we currently have, or how does that look?
Well, it's going to be, I think this is adding to the relationship. We're going to continue to utilize them for our communications efforts and all of those things. And there are some specific items that we've asked them to work on kind of outside of this. And then, going forward, I don't see that being much different. We'll still have that opportunity to do some individual work, but also this work in addition with the additional communities and with the county.
So this will be a 12-month contract, not just during session.
Correct.
Even on a short session year, it's still a 12-month contract where we have the services
Correct.
of a lobbyist or a public relations firm.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions from the council?
I think it's a step in the right direction, to work this area. So that's because we've got like needs and responses. So I think we're heading in the right direction. Myself personally.
Thank you, Councilor. I would agree with you. There's a lot that we have in common to work on together, and if we can all be uniform and in unison in our voice down at the Capitol, maybe we'll be heard better. Any other comments, questions? All right, so how about public comment on the IGA for Government Affairs? Seeing none, can I get a motion to authorize city manager's signature on the IGA for Government Affairs?
So moved.
Second. Who was the first? I'm going to say Councilor Harden.
I didn't say anything.
You didn't say anything. Was Councilor Barone? Okay. I knew I heard a
Neither
very
voice.
Yeah, there was like 3 voices over here. Councilor Barone motioned first, and the second was by Councilor Duran? Councilor Primer. Okay. Everybody spoke, I think, at one point. So the second was by Councilor Primer, that we approve or authorize the city manager's signature on the IGA for Government Affairs. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. I'm kind of excited to work with the county and our 3 neighbor cities on lobbying efforts and public relation efforts, and us all kind of speaking in unison. So this is like Councilor Harden said, I think this is a step in the right direction to work together. And we really have worked together on a lot of projects over the last few years that are important to our region. I appreciate the relationship of our fellow cities. Regional Water System Lease Agreement, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm going to apologize if I get too detailed about water-related stuff. So please raise your hand. Just as one point of clarification before I get into it, there's 2 different ways that entities take a look at how to measure water. As a city, we measure it in gallons per minute. That's how we talk about it on both ends of the pipe, as it comes in and as it goes out. So farmers use cubic feet per second. And so you have to, or acre feet. In this agreement, we've just used cubic feet per second. And that abbreviated CFS, and that's how they measure the water flow. Now, there's a conversion. A CFS is about 374 GPM. And so if we need to make any translations, we can do that. I have some of them on my cheat sheet over here. But so a little bit on the background. So in the mid-90s, the city of Hermiston and the Port of Umatilla entered an intergovernmental agreement, IGA, to form the regional water system. And that regional water system uses a Columbia River water right that's owned by the Port of Umatilla. And it's about 155, not about, it is 155 CFS of water. So a portion of that right, 27,000 GPM, which is about 60 CFS, was dedicated to the regional water system. Now, that, as a part of that process of forming the regional water system, the city was given 7,000 GPM of that initial water right. And that was an agreement between the city and the port. And at this point, 2/3 of the city's allocation is undeveloped. And what that means is there's currently not capacity to deliver that to any customers. The pipes aren't big enough, there's not enough pumps, those types of things. It can't bring that much water. So a few years ago, starting about 2014, maybe a little before that, the port started a process to lease part of that water right. Again, the 27,000 GPM CFS of their right is the only part that's ever been considered to be able to be delivered, even a portion of that. So this other portion of their water right was sitting there unused. So a number of large growers in the community came to the port and said, we would like to lease that, and under a technical water rights thing, basically that water stays in the river. The users got their own water rights, and they pump 80 CFS of the port's right out to irrigate crops. And what that's called is mitigation water. It stays in the river while they pull their own water rights out. So this last year, those same, or almost, it isn't the identical group of growers, but another group almost the same, a couple of them changed out, came to the port and knew that the port had some additional water that they didn't have capacity to deliver, and requested to lease that as well, because they could help irrigate more acres and increase their crop production. So in this proposed lease, there's 3 different types of water defined, and the type that's related to the city is what's called second position water. And the reason that it was called that is this water would only be leased on a year-to-year basis. So if at some point the city had a large user that wanted to develop something that would need this water, we could notify the users under this lease and say, hey, we're gonna use this, and then it would not, then we would be able to get it back. The first position water, or the water that's actually the ports, is that on a longer term lease where they can't get it back without a lot more, jumping through a lot more hoops. So the water that we're leasing is, we're getting less money for it because we have the ability to take it back sooner, and that was something that I felt was important. You know, this water is to hopefully help us improve our economy and to attract industrial or other large type customers. So that's why that difference is there. Now, the proposed lease will pay the city $15,750 a year. That's $1,500 per cubic feet per second per CFS, and until we need it. And with 1 year's notice, we can ask for it and cancel the lease in essence. So with that, that's what we're looking for. The port's leasing some of, there's two different types of water that the port is leasing. One is a long-term, it's the rest of their water that's not in the regional water system. And then also what they are calling interruptible water, which in order to assist fish flow in the river on low years, when the river's not flowing as high, there are restrictions. The state curtails certain amounts of the water so that it stays in the river. People with water rights aren't able to take their full amount. So, but they can maybe in the shoulder seasons, so that might only affect July and August or something else. So the water users are asking to lease that as well when they can use it. They can use it to fill in different parts of their irrigation plan. And so that's the third type of water that's available in that lease. But none of that is city-owned or city-controlled water. So now that you're asleep from talking about water rights and all that, be happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Smith, is there some sort of emergency clause in here? Say we have a catastrophic event and both water towers go down or something and we need water. I mean, can we emergently take that water back?
Well, we wouldn't be able to take this water that we're leasing through the current system of treatment that we would need to make it potable if that were to be the case. I mean, there's just not the pumping capacity, and particularly the filters at the treatment plant couldn't do a whole lot. We could continue to take our full allocation, which we don't take any in most years, but we could take our full allocation if something were to happen and hope to at least meet some of the minimum needs. And we could, under our agreement, under the regular regional water system agreement, maximize whatever we could run through those filters if we had no other sources. So, but really we couldn't, if all the other users were using their water, we couldn't put more water through the pipe.
Gotcha. Okay. Other questions from the council? Yes, Mr. Moon?
I have a question on page 46 in our council packet. That's Appendix A. And so, if I'm hearing this correctly, this is just for the next year, or is this for years after that? And I guess maybe I missed this, but there's two different charts and there's different percentages. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
So this really is for on the user side, and they're allocating their portion of that, and they're doing it differently for 2021 versus 2022 and beyond. So we don't, I mean, I don't want to say we don't care, but it's not as important for us to know who's getting it. So that's why it's different, but that's what that Appendix A is for, is because each of those entities will be signing this lease because of the being an individual entity. So this way they know how much they're allocated.
And it's my understanding they're all going to cut us one check. We're not going to go after 8 of these individuals.
Correct.
Yeah.
They're all going to pay together.
And so I guess I have a follow-up to that. I recently saw in the Eastern Oregonian that we were experiencing drought in both our counties, Umatilla and Morrow. Is this something that will be able to help at least farmers, growers in the area?
Yes, so, the drought we're experiencing, it most impacts groundwater. And so their ability to use water other than groundwater from the river enables them to continue to produce the crops that they need. The ones that are most impacted by the drought would be the dry land wheat farmers. Those are most impacted.
Thank you.
Another follow-up question. So,
Committed way, and so that's what takes up the rest of from the math standpoint, the rest of that.
And so if we had an industrial user that needed water, where would that come from?
We have some allocated under the regional system, as well as the port does have some of the regional allocation that could be put towards that.
Okay. And usually we would know longer than a year in advance if
Right.
that
You know,
user
we
was gonna
talked
need-
about it. You know, it's going to take a company a year to build, at least a year to build whatever building they need. So we would have time to build the infrastructure or do whatever and notify them under the lease that we would be retracting the water.
Can't remember what the figures are, but they're significant. When you take dry land and you convert it to irrigated ag, it's 40 to sometimes 160 times greater value to that per acre production. And so in partnership with our local agricultural community, I think this is a wonderful idea. And if we have water that's being underutilized and we can put it to use and produce more food that can serve the world, I think that's a great partnership. And so we've got, it sounds like, some protections in place that's going to protect our interest and make sure that we're not giving away water that we need to pull back. But I think this is a great partnership. So I'm excited about it. Any other comments, thoughts?
Well, I just was curious about your question. So none of this water is going to be running through the regional water system. This will be, the farmers will use their own pumps and pump it up to their fields directly from the source. And
That's correct.
okay.
Yeah, this is, under the technical terms, this is mitigation water. It allows them to get a new right while ours sits in the river. You know, we could have got JR the other night when he was here a few months ago to get into this, but he gets a little excited about that. So, you know, it's blue and it's purple, and, you know, you get to take the blue and you leave the purple in, and he gets pretty excited.
Other comments about the lease agreement? Public comment on the regional water system lease agreement? Seeing none? Can I get a motion to authorize the city manager to sign the lease? It's been moved by Councilor Primer, seconded by Councilor Duran, that we approve the city manager to sign the lease agreement. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Now we're on to Restaurant Assistance Pilot Program. Mr. Smith?
Yes, I'll ask Mr. Morgan to walk us through this.
Does everything have to have an acronym? I'm just wondering. RAP, huh?
We can't hear you very well, Mark.
Is the microphone on? Yeah, can't hear you. That one sounds like it's working. Yep.
All right, let's try it again. So, at one of our recent council meetings, council gave some direction on how you all would like to see us spend some of our allocation of the recent American Recovery Plan Act dollars moving forward. It was very well supported to be doing something for local small businesses. And so this is really just the preliminary kernels of thoughts of one way of potentially spending those dollars. So in a nutshell, what we're proposing is to look further into potentially partnering with the Greater Hermiston Chamber of Commerce to fund what amounts to a mass gift certificate purchase program from local restaurants to, one, get some cash flowing into those local restaurants, but B, also getting folks back into the habit of going back in and patronizing these local businesses and hopefully bringing some additional cash aside from just the gift certificate purchases themselves. So this is really modeled off of a similar endeavor that we did at the city here back last year with the particularly the movie theater and the bowling alley here in town. The city used some of our CARES Act dollars to purchase a significant amount of gift certificates to the bowling alley and the movie theater. That helped get them some direct cash up front immediately when they really needed it the most. And then we've been pushing those gift certificates out to the community through the Parks and Recreation Department and the library. And so, again, the thought there being we would like to kind of slowly meter those out into the community so that you don't have a large group of people just going and using all their gift certificates. The hope is that you would have, you know, for example, a family gets 1 or 2 of these tickets or something. They go, they bring maybe a couple of their friends, and they, you know, a couple of them do have to purchase admission to the movie theater. While they're there, they purchase some popcorn and drinks and those types of things. So the same type of a concept would apply to this program. So what we'd be recommending is we've had very preliminary conversations with the chamber staff about potentially working with them to really administer a restaurant purchase program like this. There's roughly in the ballpark of around 50 restaurants in Hermiston that really could be taking part in something like this. Not all of them are chamber members, but it seemed like a good opportunity for us to, again, partner with the chamber to get them some cash to work with these local restaurants, and also give them an excuse to reach out and partner with some of these restaurants that may not even be chamber members, and you know, help them understand some of the benefits of being chamber members while signing them up for the program. So we've heard really good feedback from the movie theater and the bowling alley about this program. So that's why we're recommending it here this evening. What we would recommend for a funding level at this point would be capitalizing the program at $50,000 for purchases. That's one of the reasons why I refer to it as the Restaurant Assistance Program pilot program, because we're kind of caught in a little bit of a interesting timing scenario, because we know that we will be having funds coming from the American Rescue Plan, but we don't have a penny of that in hand yet. So we know that that's on the way. Exactly when we'll get it is still yet to be determined, but also we're bumping up against the end of our current fiscal year, and so I think trying to shove out, you know, upwards of 4,500 gift certificates out into the community is actually a pretty sizable task, and so I think that's going to take us a while to get those out into the community in a manner that is really beneficial to the restaurants. And so I think if we, you know, start this program at $50,000 and kind of seed it that way, that'll give us some time to see if it's really effective and if the restaurants actually participate in it and it's beneficial to them. And if it does prove to be really popular and effective, then we can always come back next fiscal year and increase that funding level if we really want to. So basically what we'd be seeking from you this evening is really just your general thoughts on the overall concept and whether you'd like us to continue those conversations with the Hermiston Chamber on implementing a program like this. I anticipate that we'll get a lot more specific recommendations from the businesses and the restaurants themselves as we start to develop that program. So that's really the general skeleton concept. We do have the new chamber director, Christina Olivas, with us this evening if she'd like to offer any other information on the program and the potential partnership this evening.
All right. You good? So, Chris, would you like to introduce? No? Come on. Introduce. Yes. Introduce your new executive director. We haven't met her yet, so why don't you introduce us to her? Welcome. Will you turn the green light on that microphone? Yeah. Can we hear her? Byron, can you give her? Yeah, it's not connecting, and you won't be heard. We want to make sure you're heard.
My first invitation, and you guys cut me off at the mic. All righty, are we good?
That's much
yeah,
better.
We are.
Yes, thank you.
All righty. Well, thank you, council and community members, for the invitation. My name is Christina Olivas, and I am a resident of Hermiston. I live on 975 West Juanita Avenue. I have accepted the role for the Greater Hermiston Chamber of Commerce CEO on March 30th. Well, I accepted it a little bit before, but started with the office on March 30th. Since then, I've had an amazing opportunity to meet with a lot of our community members and some of your city staff. So I wanted to thank everybody for the reach outs and for the great welcome that I've had so far. So thank you.
Well, welcome. We appreciate you stepping up into that role of the executive director, and we look forward to a continued great collaboration with the Hermiston Chamber of Commerce. And I know that this is new, and so I want to make sure that the council has opportunity for questions. I'm going to lead off with the question that I have. In doing this, there was some conversation that we had about potentially matching funds, not necessarily just free gift certificates, but maybe a BOGO or a 50% match or something like that, so that the actual constituents or the residents actually have some skin in the game. They weren't just getting a free cheeseburger, but they actually had to take some money out of their pocket. So where is that, and was that too much of a hurdle to get over, or can you kind of explain that to me?
No, we haven't gotten down to that level of detail on the administration of the program. That's again where I mentioned if we really want this this concept to be effective, that's really what it needs to be. We could just dump 4,500 gift certificates on 20 people, and all right, they're out the door and it's done. But really, I think the goal is that you would have something that's more similar to something like one or two of these per household or something, so that you get them up in small batches, so that again you're putting people along with you out to these restaurants, hopefully leverage more private sector purchases while they're there. So one of the potential options that we listed for distribution channel was to retain about 20% of the gift certificates and disperse those out of City Hall to utility account holders. And so that would really give us a good ability to basically give out one ticket per utility account holder and really help meter that out on a slower basis. And so there's any number of ways we can get these out the door. So
Is it too, I guess, kind of sidestep my comment, is it too complicated though when we're asking somebody, I'm guessing the chamber, to collect money to buy these gift certificates? Meaning they would get a $20 gift certificate for $10 or a $10 gift certificate for $5. You know the question I'm asking?
yeah, I mean, I suppose that would be, and again, we haven't finalized any agreement with the chamber yet on whether or not they would be the ones administering the program, but I think that could be another potential option for getting them out. This was just one distribution formula.
Yeah, now your microphone doesn't work. Maybe you can borrow Gary's.
Just one other thought that we had that sort of addresses that similar concern is the dollar amount of that gift certificate.
Right.
Right. If it's a $5 gift certificate, that kind of puts it more that somebody's going to have to put more in. It's a $10 gift certificate. It's a little different amount, but it's still at most restaurants you're still going to be putting some money in. So that was how we felt like we could multiply it and still simplify the distribution. I mean, we haven't got into the details like Mark said, but some sort of doing the match could make it a little more difficult. That's why, as far as the distribution, that's what we've looked at so far.
And I think to City Manager Smith's point, we talked a lot about the pricing internally, and I think that also gets to one of the other things that it comes down to is what's really our goal here. Is it to get the cash to the businesses, or are we going to be discouraging people from picking these up if we require them to purchase them? And so one of the other restrictions that I think we could probably place on the gift certificate, if we priced it at $10 and they were just the door rather than somebody paying to acquire them, is making it easier on the restaurants on the actual administration side of things, of basically saying, look, it's $10 and we're not going to issue any refunds, or if you've only bought $7 worth of food, we're not going to, okay, now you still got $3 on this gift card type of a deal. It helps the business get that full $10 without having to mess around with the accounting of those types of items.
And councilors, yes,
Yeah.
Councilor Perman.
That's, I'm in agreement with what the city manager and assistant city manager are talking about, in that the whole idea behind this, I believe, the concept behind this is to get the money into the restaurant's hands, the business owner's hands, so that they can, get moving forward from where we are or where we've been to where we want to be. And by putting too many restrictions on that, I think that it's going to be a complex process that people are not going to want to participate in, as opposed to, $10 is $10. I mean, if one person gets most of a meal out of the deal, they're gonna use it, as opposed to having to pay money to get it.
Well, and sorry if I could follow up on that. One of the ways that we pushed out the movie theater tickets and the bowling alley tickets was through the Parks and Recreation Department, and it was, we, the city, we really gained a lot of value out of having those as well, aside from just getting the cash to those businesses and helping them out. Was, we did something similar to like, a buy one, get one type of a deal with our recreation programs. It's, come sign up for XYZ recreation program and get a couple of movie ticket vouchers. And so, that was, basically a giveaway that we were able to incorporate into trying to get people back into those recreation programs. So I think something similar to that, where it's not, come buy this and get, give us $10 and get $20 worth of gift certificates. I think we can pair those up with various things, through the chamber, through city programs. I think there's a lot of ways we can provide value to the people that we give those to.
Okay. Councilor Peterson.
So what I'm curious about is how, or if we will be data tracking so a customer goes in and they spend the $10, but then they also spend an additional $2. Are we going to be asking for the participatory businesses to do any sort of data tracking so we can check on the efficacy of the program overall, even if we're just giving these out at face value, and then the participatory businesses return that value as far as like, yes, it was this effective because they spent this additional amount, and then we can see what the return value is in the community for what the initial output was? Are we going to have that?
I hadn't anticipated us putting, that level of data tracking on the restaurants themselves. I think this is the type of program that we'll hear plenty of anecdotal feedback from the businesses on whether or not they thought it was effective or not. I didn't foresee us getting into that level of detail.
Yeah.
Right. I just got a question. Are these going to be restaurant-specific gift certificates, or are they going to be general certificates that are open to any restaurant? I just see if it's just open to any restaurant, it's a good way to move money into the most popular restaurants, and maybe you won't get money to some of the smaller people who actually need it.
Yeah, so I think that's really the way that, and that's why we're working, we hope to partner with the Hermiston Chamber. It's different than when we were working just with the movie theater and the bowling alley, because we could work specifically with them to develop their specific gift certificates. I think really the only way that it makes sense from an ease of administration standpoint would be to develop just a single template, $10 gift certificate, template, and part of what would be the administration aspect is going out and contacting the restaurants and asking if they want to participate in that program and accept that gift certificate as payment for $10. So I think that's how I had envisioned it, that would really be the easiest way that it could be administered. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it depends on how many people want to go to a certain restaurant. I don't know that I'm open to ideas or thoughts on how we could encourage more diversification on how those get out. But.
Christina, have you had an opportunity to have a conversation with your board or members and what their thoughts are about this concept or idea?
So first and foremost, I want to thank the city for approaching us with this opportunity to partner, because growing business is basically our business. So I've only had about a week to kind of wrap our head around it, so I haven't reached out to our full board. But what I have done is kind of partnered with, every day I have a goal of meeting with local businesses, either on my way home, introducing myself, kind of getting myself out there. And I have kind of played with the idea of asking each one in a non-specific way, if the chamber had a magic wand to make your business better during this time, this hard time, what could we do? And it kind of aligns with the conversation that Mark approached me as, generating business that they feel they've lost. Some restaurants haven't lost anything. They're takeout, they have, door dashing now, all of those good things. And then some of them said that they can't even manage to go forward, those smaller family-owned businesses. So some of the feedback I got was, not just restaurants, more of a general business is feeling those smaller things that aren't getting it. So as far as restaurants and my self-feedback, I haven't had a lot of time, but they do want to see Hermiston do something for them. That's kind of the consensus. A lot of businesses thought I was working for the city. I'd had to, remind them what the Chamber of Commerce did, and they want to know, and I mentioned this to Mark, like, where's my COVID money? That was like the trigger word. Where's our COVID money going? So I think this would be a great opportunity to brand and market that we are putting the money back into the business. If you'll allow me the time to share, I started a new program with the Chamber about 3 weeks ago, where I call it Feature Fridays, and I've reached out myself, just calling businesses and saying, the City of Hermiston and the Parks Department have partnered with me to give me movie tickets, because we had some surplus from another event. And if you'll give me a gift card to your business, I'll feature you on Facebook and Instagram. I'll go to your business, I'll do a live Facebook feed. When's the last time you had a 30-second commercial? I'm really marketing it. I have had amazing feedback. I've had Delish so far, I've had Midway. I have a ongoing list of restaurants that are eager to partner, so I can't imagine that this would fall flat, if that makes sense. I'm using those movie tickets as a kind of incentive to tag Hermiston in it, to show that money coming back into the community. So I do think it would be a good thing. I just want to make sure that we're doing it in a consistent way. I don't want it just to be Chamber members or the big chain restaurants either. Because like I said, they haven't felt it as big as those mom and dad shops.
Councilor Brown.
Just wanted to comment. I want to piggyback off of Councilor Spicer-Green's comments, specifically about just making sure that the money gets to the smaller businesses, like you said, mom and pop businesses. Assistant City Manager Morgan pointed out earlier, which was honestly going to be one of my questions, knowing the people disseminating this information, the Chamber, Parks and Rec, the library. I know for a fact that not all the businesses are included in the Chamber. And even looking at the Latino Business Network, not all the Latino businesses are there as well. Actually, there's very, very few.
Very few, yeah.
So that was a concern of mine, is how are we going to disseminate this to the ones that we really need? Because obviously the ones that are popular are always going to stay popular. The ones that need the most help are the small businesses. So I am interested to see how we're going to have a little bit more of that targeted support. I'm encouraged, like in our council packet, like it says, we have a lot of state and federal funding, but one of the things that I've noticed in going from business to business, especially the small Latino businesses, is oftentimes they're the ones that struggle a little bit more with the communication, with the technology, with the access, and that's my concern as a counselor.
And that is a legitimate concern. Being a citizen, just a citizen a month ago and now working for the Chamber, I've even opened my eyes to a lot of different things and I was considered myself educated on Hermiston, right? I worked for one of the biggest employers in Hermiston, and I didn't know a lot of the things the Chamber or the city had to offer. So that is something that I'm aware of, and partnering with the Latino Business Network, I think that they could do better at marketing, which we could all help do better. And that's going to be a responsibility of not only the cities, but the Chamber and community members. All of us have outreach in different ways, and I think it's just going to be up to whatever this partnership rolls out to be, how we market it. I don't know that we can control it in a fair and diverse way of where they spend it. I think that is a grand opportunity or wish, but not a likely opportunity. I can't tell, Sam, you have to spend it at Tacos y Mas because Panda Express already has enough money. That's not the point of it. I think we have to be realistic on they're going to spend their money where they want to, and focus on the good part. The golden thing is that Hermiston's putting money back into Hermiston business. So I think that's where we have to really focus our energy and just be more intense about how we market them out.
Ms. Smith, do we have any more public relations dollars that we could put into marketing? So if we wanted to somehow advertise this or partner with the Chamber in advertising this, that we could kind of make sure we got the word out, hey, this is what we're doing, we're partnering together with, here's the opportunities of which you can acquire this, and we could maybe put it out on Latino Radio or other networks that would communicate that in a better format, as well as our common networks that we use on a regular basis.
Yeah, absolutely. We can work with them on trying to get the message out as broadly as possible.
Perfect. Yes.
Just an additional thing, again, I want to remind everybody that one of the reasons why I really enjoy calling things pilot programs is one of the things that drives me the craziest about working in government is oftentimes we go through paralysis by analysis. And in the grand scheme of things, this isn't really a rocket science type of a program. And we'll learn a lot just by rolling it out and seeing how it goes. And I think if it's really well received, I think based on the feedback that we got this evening, I think we can probably come up with some good sideboards to address some of those concerns. And some of them may not turn out to be concerns, and we may find other things that we didn't even think of going through this process. So that's why I like kind of using the pilot program model a lot of times. It helps us just ground truth a lot of these things that we may be overthinking sometimes.
And I think I agree with you in that it's not a huge dollar amount, although it is a significant infusion at the right time. We just got rolled back into high again recently, which limited capacity at restaurants to 25%, and they've just been hammered time and time again this year. And for us to make a statement by going out and telling the community that we're trying to do as a city what we can do to help support you financially. Here's $50,000 that we're going to put out into the community. And if it's successful, we have some ARPA funds that are coming along. And if it's well utilized and it's beneficial to the community and it keeps people open, then maybe we can look at expanding that program as we get more resources available. Mr. Brown?
Yes, I just had a couple closing comments. I absolutely agree with Assistant City Manager, with Mayor, exactly. I think this is going to be a fun program where people get the opportunity to go and visit and go to different places, be out and about, especially as we hit the summertime, and be able to distribute those funds amongst these businesses. I guess, especially having the opportunity to have the chamber director here, I really wanted to focus in on the point of this concept was originally thought of to support the businesses that are really struggling. And I know the businesses that are really struggling have been the ones that have a hard time with access. And I know that's the golden question, honestly. That's probably going to be the hardest part of your job, is going to be having all businesses have that access and have that input. Because some businesses, if they don't feel like it's worth their time or if it's way too complicated, they might not invest their time in what they probably should do, because that's probably the best thing for a business is promoting, is giving them this access. But when people don't really understand, they don't understand the concepts, or it's just difficult for them to access, that's where we start having people turn away and don't really realize that what they have in front of them is something that's good for them. And so I really want to see, I guess, a focus on that, especially from the chamber.
So thank you for that. So if the chamber were to decide to partner with them once we get more information, that's actually going to probably be the preliminary or primary goal of myself, is to make sure that it is marketed in that way. And something that the chamber had already set up before I even got there was an actual diverse, where we do control a lot of the social media for some of the nonprofits. So the Latino Business Network, Travel Hermiston, the Hermiston Chamber, the Foundation. I think that's going to be our most cost-effective way of promoting it, but I will have to lean on, like I said, if this is something that we partner with, lean on the city and other business owners to promote it, because just from being a community member or having associates before with another, even what is good for you, if it becomes complicated, you will not make it. So a short story real quick. I worked for, no secret, Walmart. It was a newspaper. And we would get amazing promotions from our home office. We would get amazing opportunities for our associates. But if it was too much change, that demographic, that blue-collar demographic is going to shut down. It is what is ingrained in my Latino background. It is in our community. If it's too much change, it will be a bad thing. So as much as I would love to know how much effect we got in or how many dollars we made them off of our dollars, I think the least complicated we could make this would not only be more likely for the chamber to take part in it, but for the biggest bang for our buck out in the community. I don't know that it would be successful if we asked for any type of reporting back or anything more that they had to add to a cash register. I could not get Trina's Tacos to take it. I'm just not going to. That's not going to happen. So I think the most simplistic way of rolling this out would be the best for everybody involved.
And I think we have to create some sort of pattern by which we can allow these businesses to be reimbursed in an expedient manner.
I agree.
Because some of these people may not be able to wait 30 or 60 days to be reimbursed for all of these gift certificates. So if they wanted to bring them to you today or at the end of the week or whatever process you set up, getting that money into their hands as quickly as possible, I think, is important.
I agree.
Councilor
Yes.
Peterson?
So when we get the businesses that have agreed to sign up, I know that some of them are places that perhaps others haven't discovered, and that's one of the reasons why they aren't, you know, they are struggling because, you know, they're off the beaten path. So if perhaps a map is created and it's like, all right, these are the businesses that are participating, and then that way we could just see it flat out, and it's like, oh, I haven't been to that spot.
Yes.
And then that way they're easier to locate, and you know, maybe it'll make people a little bit curious about where to go, because that's how I find some of my favorite places is, you know, I haven't been there before, let's try it.
Yeah, that's like I said, this is pretty, as Mark has discussed, this is pretty, basic concept idea. So I think there's a lot of great ways we could take advantage of it, and any feedback is appreciated.
All right, so Mark, what are you looking for from us? Just some direction to proceed with this, if we agree with it, or is that what you're looking for from the council this evening?
Yeah, I think definitely what we've heard this evening is trying to make sure that in our distribution of the tickets that we really ensure equity and inclusion across, you know, as broad of a restaurant base and population as we can, as well as making it easy to administer for, you know, everybody involved. And so that was some good feedback that we've gotten so far. So really I'd just be looking for a motion to direct staff to continue working with the chamber and see if we can execute an agreement generally along the terms of what we've outlined this evening and proceed quickly.
Or any other questions or comments from the council? No. Okay, so can I get a motion to direct staff to proceed with finalizing it?
So moved.
Yes, before
Okay,
we
you
do
got a
that,
question?
if we're moving to proceed with the Hermiston Chamber of Commerce, if that's the motion, probably do need to recuse myself since I sit on the board of directors of the Hermiston Chamber of Commerce.
So I think all we're doing is proceeding, we're allowing the staff to continue the conversation with the chamber, proceed finalizing and implementing a restaurant assistance pilot program, which will entail working with the chamber. So, yeah, you can declare a conflict of interest or potential conflict of interest, I guess. Is that accurate, Gary? Yeah, okay, perfect, thank you. No. Yes?
It's in the order and the rules and orders. It's just better that we.
So he does need to step out?
It's just better that he remove himself. He
Man, you
since
do
he's
this a
on the
lot.
board, he has his conflict.
Let's fill it up. Thank you, Christina.
All right,
So I make that motion.
okay, thank you.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Bremer, seconded by Councilor Barone, that we direct staff to proceed with finalizing and implementing a restaurant assistance pilot program. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Motion passes unanimously 6-0 with one excused. Councilor Spicer Coon. Well, it was nice to meet you this evening, Christina. We look forward to your partnership and working more closely with the Hermiston Chamber of Commerce in your future endeavors here. Thank you for being here this evening. So I saw Dr. Mooney walk in. Welcome. Come on up. It's perfect timing. Nope.
How about now?
Now it is.
There we go.
Yep.
So, what's going on in schools? We are busy planning for summer program at the elementary level. We have three, actually, coordinators that are busy planning for opportunities for elementary students that will run from June 21st through July 30th. I know they've been in contact with Parks and Rec around swim lessons. They're working with Champions around some childcare pieces. So looking at offering some different programs than what we've been able to offer in the past for the summer program at the elementary level. It's been real remediation based, reading, writing, math, academic focus, and we're looking at some variety of opportunities that are high interest. So we'll be providing transportation for students that sign up for swim lessons back and forth. They're, I think, reached out to the public library. They're looking at some sports camps, if you will, for example, like a tennis camp, maybe with the high school tennis coaches, et cetera. So looking at a wide variety of opportunities for our students at the elementary level. We will also then transition and hand that off to Champions to be able to provide childcare throughout the summer for our parents, particularly being mindful of our parents who work in the fields and work those long hours, so making sure that we have structured opportunities for our kiddos throughout the summer. At the secondary level, they are going to have two-week programs. Summer school at the secondary level has been a 2-week program in the past. They have a 2-week at the end of June through the beginning of July, and then they'll do a 2-week the end of July through the beginning of August. At the high school, students will be able to get credit, but they're also looking at some real high interest opportunities. In particular, one of the examples that was given is we have, after this year, students who took a semester of welding but have actually never welded. So looking at some real high interest opportunities in welding, construction, cooking, those kinds of things, in addition to some academic focused opportunities for our students who are trying to earn some credits or working in credit retrieval. We are at the middle level also working with the migrant summer school program, and we found out that Hydromania is going to be a go. So looking at a lot of opportunities for our kids over the course of the summer, which is really exciting, definitely. Also busy planning for graduation, and want to extend my thanks to Chief Hermiston and the police department for partnering with us again on that senior parade. We are not going to be able to go up to the Toyota Center as we have in the past, and looking at a more limited opportunity at Hermiston High School. Similar to the format of last year, Mr. Spoo and I met after graduation last year and talked about the things we could make better, and I had said I don't want to have graduation like this again, but it's a good thing we talked about all those things we could make better. So graduation will be live streamed at this point. Students will get 4 tickets to offer to family members to come and watch them actually receive their diploma. Depending on case counts in Umatilla County and in Hermiston, we are hoping to be able to increase the number of family members that will be able to come and watch a student receive their diploma on graduation night. So busy definitely right now trying to wrap up this school year. Winter sports are starting, which seems really odd because I think it's supposed to be 88 on Wednesday, but winter sports are starting. Those are going to be live streamed. So boys and girls basketball, looking at, actually I think we have maybe bowling tomorrow night. I'm not sure that we have the capacity to live stream bowling just because it's not on our facility, but winter sports are starting up and beginning the planning for next year. Preliminarily, what we're hearing, superintendents are hearing from the Department of Education, is that we can anticipate guidance for next year in July, which we are saying is too late. We need to have that guidance now. The information we have now, we're being told that we can plan on physical distancing and masks and COVID testing in the fall. So continue to encourage everyone to do their part to keep one another healthy as we work through this spring, definitely. And looking forward to returning, I guess, more to normal. Really excited about the opportunity we have for kids over the summer, just to make connections and make sure that we have kids that might otherwise be unsupervised in supervised settings. And I think, one of the great opportunities through this is we have students that in the past didn't have access to swim lessons. I know the city has offered scholarships for swim lessons, but when there are other family barriers, transportation, supervision, etc., we're trying to get through those barriers so that we have more students that have access to swim lessons, which I think is really important, particularly in light of all the water around us. When we were able to do the 2nd grade swim program with the city 2 years ago, I was surprised at the number of 2nd grade students who had never been in a pool, don't have a swimsuit, had never had access to that. And so that's scary for our kids, definitely, but really looking forward to partnering and be able to offer those opportunities for our kids. Questions for me?
Awesome. I'm just excited we're talking about school, and we're talking about activities and kids being engaged and collaborating and working with fellow students and back in schools with their teachers where they should be. So all of those things are super exciting and positive. The Champions programs, are those going to be administered in your facilities, or are you still collaborating with EOTech? How's that all working?
Champions is now in schools.
Okay.
Brought them back, so we're not at EOTech anymore.
Okay.
They will, throughout the summer, depending on what buildings we're using for our summer program, which will depend actually on student interest, we'll house them in one building, bring them to a central location. We, this year, are staying away from Rocky Heights. There's a construction fence up over there, so we're starting that process. That's exciting. So.
Just today, CDC said that kids 12 and over can be vaccinated, as I understand it. Are the school districts planning on doing any vaccinations?
The health department did reach out and asked about, prior, when it was age 16 and older, about a clinic at the high school. And we work with Good Shepherd, so we do have a wellness clinic at the high school, and thought that might be a great opportunity for students to be able to make appointments and, right there during their school day. At this point, I don't know that the health department has gotten the vaccinations for that age group. There was a preliminary survey that went out to parents of students at the high school level asking about interest. But as we have the vaccinations, we are happy to partner with the health department to provide sites for vaccinations, definitely.
Awesome. How about other questions for the council? Yeah.
I actually have a question about graduation. You were talking about obviously the level of risk, extreme, high, moderate, will depend on who's able to go. At this point, we're in high. So how would it look like if we were in high versus extreme or moderate?
Well, our case counts, when I have looked, we've gone down a little. So I'm operating with our case counts are going down. Right now, students have we'll be able to have 4 people come and watch them graduate. Last year, we had 2. Each student got 2 tickets. We're going to, this year, do things a little bit different. And the dance with school districts is when we have just kids there, it's a school event. When we bring anybody else in, it becomes a public venue. And so just the number of the different pieces of guidance that we have to follow. So we are going to be able to have all of our students together, our senior class together, and when they present their speeches, the welcome, the farewell, all the class prophecy, the speeches that kids want to hear, they'll be able to give those to each other in a room. Last year, what we did is we live streamed those. So students who were in line to get, students who were immediately in line to get their diploma got to hear them, but other students didn't unless they watched the live stream. So they'll all be together, be able to watch the speeches. That part will be live streamed for everyone at home. And then students will go actually across the stage. So we'll follow a similar format as we did last year with, lining parents or family members up as their student comes across the stage to be able to come into the commons and get those photo opportunities of their student getting their diploma and then going out the front door. So I am going to continue to think positively that our case counts are going down and we're moving in the right direction.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Mooney.
So we also had some district competitions last week, if I remember right, in MCC, and some of our athletes fared pretty well. So are there state or regional competitions this year? None. That's
No.
all been canceled.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the end of their year.
Yes, and the spring sports season was actually longer than the fall sports season because spring sports didn't get a season last year. So I think the fall was 4 weeks long and spring was 6 weeks long, and that's why there was the MCC opportunities for the spring sports, is trying to provide more opportunity for those athletes that missed 2 seasons due to COVID.
Yeah, it looked like we had some pretty successful athletes this year. First of all, it's a great opportunity for us to partner with a neighboring district and not have to travel as far as we used to travel. So super appreciative of that opportunity, but it's also a very competitive district and very strong districts. And so for our school district to compete at that level and be successful, it's exciting to see those athletes having some success at that level. So
Absolutely. We had some in track and in tennis, we had some athletes do amazing. And one of the things that Mr. Usher and I have had conversations about is how we're going to continue to build programs, because not unique to Hermiston is the decline in the number of students that are participating in extracurricular athletics and activities. for a variety of reasons. They were disconnected during the time they were at home. We have kids who got a job. You know, it's a different time of year. So if you were a winter sport athlete, basketball usually doesn't take place right now. So that's one thing that we're going to have to work through definitely, particularly being the smallest school in our conference, that looking at opportunities to continue to grow our programs, which is why we have the 3-week mini seasons, if you will, at the middle school level. Really, it's 3 weeks of opportunities for coaches to interact with students that culminates in a contest, if you will. Was it last week, the week before, the Armand Larvey Sandstone football game took place at the high school. And it was a different format in that coaches were on the field, and it was more of a teaching, learning environment, volleyball the same way. So looking at opportunities to reconnect with our kids and get them back into programs.
And off the computer.
And off the computer. It is, I've said for a year, we're gonna feel the effects of this for a long time, and just in the disconnection of our students, which is why for the summer program, we're looking at a lot of high interest opportunities, like what do you want to come to school and do, and really find a different way to connect with our kids.
No, I love all the creativity and effort that's going into summer programs and trying to reconnect with kids and get your hooks in them and find them something that they find exciting and a reason to get out of bed and go to school for every day. So, other comments? Yes,
Yeah,
Councilor Brown?
I just kind of want to add on to that. It's been great to see the kids out there playing sports. I had the pleasure of coaching some of the baseball players, and we had 8 seniors that left our team this year, so we were really senior stacked. But it was really great to be able to, share that season with them. They've played. Actually, these kids were Little League state champions back when they were in Little League, and 12 and 13-year-olds. So they love baseball. Played state and went to regionals, and so it was a great and sad and a lot of different emotion in their last game. So 8 of them are gone, and we hope them the best and wish them the best. But sports teaches a lot more than just the physical activity of actually doing the sport and the skills. So having everyone back together, it was really nice. And we have 3 of them that are going on to play beyond high school. So really, really happy for them, but it gives a lot of kids an opportunity to be out and about, and just enjoy, just the fun of playing sports, sportsmanship, and everything that comes with it. So I was really happy that we ended up having a season, just because I know these seniors. I mean, last year, like you mentioned before, they didn't have their spring season. And that's not to mention prom, et cetera, everything that was missed. So the fact that they still got, at least some of their sports season was refreshing. And hopefully, it's not how they probably envisioned it going out, but, at least having a little something for them was great to see and great to be a part of.
So softball fields are getting close, baseball fields are getting close. When does Rocky construction start?
They put the fence up, and they're
going to start demolishing the softball fields.
I don't know that they've started demo yet. I know they were working on the fence. I actually did not get an opportunity to get over there today to see how far they were, but we are moving in the direction, and there will be a lot of activity over there this summer, which is very exciting.
And Rocky is before Loma Vista?
Yes.
Loma Vista is until the fall?
A couple of weeks behind, yeah.
Okay, great. So see a lot of construction going on, of course, across the summer.
And the softball field should be done fairly soon because they have to rest for 90 days.
Some grass growth. Any other questions, comments? Well, we super appreciate you being here this evening, Dr. Mooney, and wish you the best as you transition another group of seniors out the door and trying to gear up for the next school year.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we're now on to city committee and liaison reports. Anybody have anything this evening?
Yes, I was going to mention the Greater Eastern Oregon Solutions team. Earlier today, I sent all counselors information about the 10-point plan that the governor has, as well as other information. Just real quickly, just going through all the actions. There's 10 actions. Some of them will be by the governor herself through the budget. Others will go through the legislature, and we'll see how that ends up turning up. So again, what I was really happy to see is supporting the rural communities, making sure that our resilient communities continue, and that's by supporting small businesses, our community colleges, our ag industry. And so other than that, this is the 10-point plan, and I really just wanted to send it to council to get some feedback on it. Just because if there's anything else that needs to be said, that needs to be heard, I really want that to be at the governor's attention if there's anything I can do about that. So if there's anything council has, any recommendations, please let me know. Feel free to shoot me a text, send me an email. But other than that, I've been pretty excited of what I've seen so far. It's only been one meeting, but I look forward to bringing more of this information back to council.
You know, I guess it's been brought up multiple times. I'm not sure we brought it up at the council meeting last time because I've spoken to lots of different groups about it. But the action number one that the governor lists on here, investing in Oregon's hardest hit workers, which obviously we want to support the frontline workers and those people that were disproportionately affected in this COVID tragedy. But, you know, one of the challenges that I'm hearing from every business I speak to, and it's unfortunate that Christina left, but every business that I speak to is hiring. Everybody is hiring right now, and nobody's applying. I mean, you put out an application, my business is hiring. We'd normally get 40 resumes. We're lucky to get 3 or 4. And so every business I speak to, their greatest challenge right now is trying to find people to come into the workforce. So it concerns me when we talk about expanding or extending unemployment benefits and direct cash transfers. So I have concerns about just action number one. I think we need to try and encourage more people to get back into the workforce. So that would be my feedback on that one.
Thank you, Mayor Drotzman. I've certainly have heard the same sentiment, that there's just constant hiring and not enough people to fill those positions. We've seen it also like even in the busing companies, and I know it's probably happened a little bit before COVID hit, but there's just so many vacancies and a need to fill in those positions. So I'll definitely pass that along. At least have it a little bit more tailored to what's going on, at least on this side of the state, just because it's so important that jobs can't be done. Things can't move forward if we have nobody to do the jobs that need to be done. So I'll make sure to pass that along.
Well, just these businesses that are trying to grow themselves out of this COVID crisis, and now they can't. You know, you're seeing manufacturing delays, you're seeing construction delays, you're seeing, you know, just product delays. Getting stuff to the market has been a huge challenge across the nation, not just in Oregon, but I know locally that's my number one complaint I hear from small business owners right now. Other comments or thoughts? I'm sure everybody has Councilor Barone's email. You can email him your thoughts. I know you just got the email this afternoon, so providing him some feedback. He sits in a pretty powerful position there in the Regional Solutions Committee, so if you have something to help him in facilitating his role there, I think that would be helpful. Any other committee reports? I know EOTech was canceled this month because we lacked a quorum. Any others? Committee reports? Yes, sir.
I met with the Stepping Stones.
Okay.
They had a meeting, and they had Greg Smith as their guest via Zoom. And they're still out there looking, and even kind of looking at something like the Army Depot of centralizing all the services that these people would need or something like that. So there's just several things that they're looking at this particular point. And of course they were talking to Greg Smith about some possible funding coming their direction too. So anyhow, that's so, and they were actually able to meet live, so that was a good thing. So so I think we've got another meeting scheduled in June, first Wednesday in June. So anyhow, so they're trying to look at a regional kind of solution, I think, at this particular point.
Yeah, at our recent mayors and managers meeting, I think it was Dave Stockdale, the city manager of Umatilla, also mentioned that Stepping Stones had spoken to them and their council about
Yeah.
opportunities in the Umatilla area as well. So trying to look at a regionalized approach or a home for Stepping Stones. Any other questions or comments, committee liaisons, nothing? The mayor's report, I got the opportunity, speaking of J.R. Cook, to speak to him today. And it was a great update on water issues. Sounds like potentially we'll, hopefully, he's crossing his fingers, have some resources for the central project. It seems to be moving forward. For those of you that aren't familiar, there's 3 central regional-wise water projects that went through and were approved by the state as well as the local agricultural and municipalities. The central project was one that was a little bit delayed with the Hermiston Irrigation District. They originally, not Hermiston, Westland Irrigation District, they originally voted against it and then have since come back into the fold and are now participating in it. So it's a project that also would feed some water through or to the depot from the east side. The west side is being fed by Morrill County. And so he's pretty optimistic about that project moving forward and some funding being allocated towards it. So exciting because the other projects have put thousands of new acres into irrigated agricultural production. And as I mentioned earlier, significant return on investment. I think in total, the state's invested 10 or 12 million into the project, and in collaboration with the local agricultural community, it's close to 88 million in added value. So it's great return on the investment to our region and the production that's being made out of this. So he's super excited about that moving forward. I participated in the LOC's symposium, spring symposium last Friday. I think Lori was on. Anybody else participate in that? Did you a couple sessions? Yeah. Really well done. I think that's been part of the challenge that LOC has had historically is just IT technology. And of course, over the course of COVID, we've been forced to implement IT and new technologies to try and communicate and stay together and get the message across. This was a symposium that was all digital. So it brought people together from all across the state into these committee meetings, and I think there was 200 plus attendees at the meeting. I had the opportunity to speak on one of them, and it was well received and well heard, and a lot of it was focused on recovery and trying to deal with last year's catastrophes, the multitude of catastrophes, starting from the floods in February and COVID in March and windstorms in May and the flooding in May and then wildfires in the summer and and then all the other stuff that happened last year and how we manage it from an emergency management standpoint. And a couple take-home messages were we've not practiced enough in emergency management, and so working together as a region and as a community, we need to spend more time focused on emergency management. As by definition, an emergency is not something that's planned for, so you never plan to be ready for an emergency. So we need to practice. So I'm going to advocate that we get more engaged and involved in that. And speaking with our county commissioners, who are the agency who are responsible for regional emergency management, we have a shortcoming there, and they recognize that, and they're working to improve that. And so we need to help facilitate that conversation going forward so we have a better system in place. Public health has been underinvested for decades. We need to invest more money in public health. And none of us signed up for what happened last year. Nobody could have been prepared for that. But when asked, leaders lead, and I think it's important that we always try and make sure that we were recognized by our community as leaders and to step forward when called to ask or asked to act. And so making sure that we are participating in the emergency preparedness and are ready for stuff, that just comes down the pipeline, because water goes over the doorstep or crap hits the fan, and we got to be there to help clean it all up and make it better. So, making sure that we can do everything we can to help our community recover in the process. And so it was a great symposium. I enjoyed it. It was nice to collaborate with fellow mayors and city councilors across the state, as well as the LOC administration. They did a great job. Mr. Smith, you got anything else to add to that symposium?
No, I was able to attend a couple, and there was some good thoughts and ideas to use.
Yeah. Just a reminder, elections are 5/18. Make sure you get your ballots out as a community. There is a Wyden Town Hall with Business Oregon on Friday the 14th at 11 o'clock. Merkley has a town hall on the 19th at 4 p.m. Everybody can participate on both of those virtually. We have a budget committee coming up. Hopefully everybody's got that on their schedule for the 20th. And the other comment I'm going to make, I mentioned last time, is vaccinations. We got to get more vaccinations in our community. More people have to get vaccinated. I know there's a lot of resistance and concern about the vaccinations out there. I will just speak personally about one situation that happened yesterday on Mother's Day. Lost a dear friend, 54 years old, female, on Mother's Day due to COVID. And so if you think you're immune, if you think that it's not going to happen to you or your family, I think you're being naive. And so do yourself a favor, do your family a favor, do your community a favor, and go out and get vaccinated. Council report. Any other counselors? Yes?
I love my city, and that happened, and I participated, and so it was, I think,
What'd you do?
a successful weekend. So
What did you do? Where'd you work?
cleaned half the trail.
The trail?
The trail,
Okay.
Oxbow Trail. So we met with another church that did the other half of it. So
Oh, cool.
anyhow, and I think it was a successful weekend.
Yeah, thank when you get back together with the faith-based advisory group, I know that they aren't the organizers, but I know that they have connections there. Thank all of those individuals for organizing and helping. I know Larry Federer in the Parks and Rec Department does a yeoman's job of putting all that together. But I did see a lot of folks out participating and working on it, and the old fountain area sure looks really nice now. So they did a lot of effort in that as well.
Yeah, Larry gave a tour of the Funland for those that were interested on that Sunday service that they had at the park, and so it was kind of interesting. Yeah.
What was the attendance like?
It was a couple hundred, probably.
Yeah. Good. Great.
And that was Larry's estimate. It was about 200 to 300 folks participated on Saturday in the cleanup. So
How about in the same amount in the Sunday service?
yeah, I didn't hear a number on the Sunday
Yeah,
service.
it's about the same. Yeah.
Same amount. Okay. Great. Other counselors?
Yes,
Jerome?
I actually want to piggyback on two comments on Councilor Harden. When he mentioned stepping stones, I saw that LOC has a webinar for shelter and homelessness. It's going to be on the 21st from 1 to 2:30 p.m. I think there's going to be a couple of House bills that are going to be presented there. I think that'd be a really good one to attend for council. Also, the second one is the I Love My City event. Also went to participate. Started at Riverfront Park, and I don't think we ended up meeting Councilor Harden, but I think we ended up meeting on the Oxbow Trail at some point before we came to the library. We found 2 homelessness camps, actually, so we had to clean them up, and so it was quite a bit of stuff that we had to pick up, but it was a good reminder of, keeping everything clean, keeping your city clean, and made it look nice at the very end. So that was one of the other things, and I'm going to piggyback off you, Mayor, to vaccinate those. I think that message is really important. If we're going to get out of this pandemic, we can kick and scream all we want, but the thing that's going to get us out is to make sure that we're vaccinated. So The time's going to come also where the youngins are going to be available to vaccinate. I think Mayor Drotzman, you mentioned that, so it's going to be important to educate our children about it. And so I can definitely say at the school district, there's been a few cases that have popped up here and there. But I know that the kids have been nervous if it's been a close contact. And so I think it's incumbent upon us not to scare kids with information, but to educate them with the information of what it means to get the vaccine. It's been proven, it's been FDA approved. I think we know all the hoops there. So I think it's super important that, we vaccinate. So that way we get out of this mess. That way, businesses can go back to being full force. That way that we can have kids in schools and we can have them playing sports. So I think all of us want our eye on the prize, which is to return to some sense of normalcy. But for some reason, we haven't been able to agree on how we get there. So I think it's a good reminder, listen to the scientists, listen to your elected leaders as well. They're there because they're representing you, they're hearing the information from the experts and disseminating that to everybody that elected them. So I think it's important that if you've been nervous about receiving the vaccination, reconsider, get educated, talk to your friends, talk to people that have been vaccinated, asking them how it feels like. I think a lot of us know people that have been vaccinated, and it's not too bad. It's definitely better than passing it on to a family member that might not survive COVID. So I encourage everyone to get vaccinated so we can come back to a sense of normalcy.
Thank you. Yes, Councilor Peterson?
Yeah, and then also to piggyback on, the event you went to this weekend. So just a reminder that we've got the Spring Bazaar coming up this weekend. I know that this last week I went and had what I call a small business Saturday with my spouse. And we went around to some of the local businesses and then, left reviews on their web pages just to kind of get the word out of, hey, here's what's going on in this local business. And, you should definitely come and check it out. And there's one book, The Little Kitty Corn. I absolutely adored it. It's in the newest bookstore. And I actually saw a little girl leave with it. I was so jealous. It was adorable. I used to be a first grade teacher, and it brought me back. So definitely check out the small businesses and leave reviews. And that's just a great way of sharing the word of, hey, here's what's going on locally in case you haven't, gone out and seen it recently. And then, the Spring Bazaar is coming up on this Saturday, and I'm looking right at the hours, and it's 9 a.m. to 4:30 right here. So with any luck, the weather will be as beautiful as it was this last Saturday. So I definitely plan on showing up.
That's in the parking lot here at the community center?
Yeah.
Correct. Yes. Perfect. And so bazaars, for those that aren't familiar with bazaars, it's essentially a pop-up tent situation where people kind of bring their wares and sell different products, right? So there'll be food, there'll be handmade products, there'll be stuff for people to purchase. And it's a good community event to get people out doors and engaged. So this Saturday, 9 o'clock? Okay, perfect. Councilor Harden, you still got your light on. Are you wanting to talk? All right. Anybody else, council? Nope. Yo, Mr. On?
So I attended the unleashing of the dog park and saw a lot of proud dog owners run their dogs loose. That was pretty fun. We also joined the I Love My City event on May 1st, and I just want to thank all of the churches and all of the community members, because you didn't necessarily have to be affiliated with the church to be able to participate. So thank you to all of the folks that turned out to clean the city or offer free car wash that day. Saturday night, I also volunteered with Valkyrie, and it's a great organization because they've been working their tails off to get events, prepare events, so that folks can get their vaccine. They were open from 3 to 9 p.m., trying to accommodate different work schedules. So I still want to, I don't know if as a city we can do anything or make it easier, maybe partnering up or sending a letter to farmers. I'm not really sure, but I feel like if the farmers kind of came together or consensus or something, so that it would make it easier for the employees to be able to get their vaccines, whether it's at their location or, sending them, on a specific afternoon or something. I think there would be more people vaccinated that way. But I know that they've tried different venues in Boardman here, and I know that they are planning more, but it's just not happening because this is the time when the families have been without a job. They're starting to work, and now it's hard for them to be able to take a few, well, if they ride in a van, they would have to totally miss the entire day because, the van can't bring one individual back when they have a total group that they are transporting. So just my sense worth that that's all I participated in.
When I think Jose Garcia and his group actually worked with Oregon Health Authority, or Umatilla County Health District, I believe, and went out and did some agricultural-based, farm-based. What's that? Didn't they go out and do some vaccination clinics too, Lily? But I did one at the Catholic Church, but I was thinking they went out and did something at the farms too. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Be interested if there's something that the city could do to help facilitate that conversation. Any other council reports? Okay. Mr. Smith?
Yes, just a quick update on City Hall. They're forming up the foundation today, and the foundation for the elevator and things. You can kind of walk by there. You can start to see the outline building. So that was a step forward I was happy to see. And then a little more activity in the west parking lot. They're starting to notify the businesses of when they're going to actually be kind of shutting the sewer and water down, and so working through that process. Glad to see those steps moving forward. But that's all I have.
Is that a limited shutdown? How long?
Yeah, it's going to end up being, there'll be two separate ones. One will just be one day, and then there will be a week-long shutdown, and then that will be all.
That's significant if you're a business trying to shut down for a week. There's no alternative, like structure, pumping something?
Well, we're going to provide a better than a Blue House option out on the street for that time. But as far as providing, a restaurant not having water service is pretty much no-go. So, but that's as quick. I mean, they're trying to do it as short as possible. We're saying a week. If they can get it done faster, it will be back on as soon as they've done all the work they need to do. So,
You just hate to shut down a restaurant that's been already impacted so badly this year. So, but hopefully, for the long run, it'll be a better facility for them for the future. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Anything else from the council? We are adjourned. Have a good evening.